Went to go watch the news for the weather report. Um, and then because it taped it while I was out shooting hoops in the barn and stuff. And had the little thing about the little family that lost their house due to the water main breaking. And as a community, you should get together the resources and get them, a house, the equivalent if there's one that a real estate agency can be playing in near proximity, or build them a new one or something like that. That would be the most logical thing to do, given the dynamic of your situation. But the water usage is probably has a lot of pressure issues and stuff like that because of industry, not because of houses. And it's sad that people have to. They lost their little doggy. One of the little doggies drowned. That's sad. That's not fun. We all have a lot of affection for our little pets and stuff, and then to have a house, where all your kids played and your children and and for 25 years and stuff like that. That's very emotional. When something like that happens, that's hard on people. Then they had on a thing about this little band that's coming to play at the Sun Bowl, or it's not a band. They sing, right? They're a singing group. I shouldn't call them a band. A band is Rolls Royce. So they're more like a singing group, like the Delphonics and the Dramatics and the Temptations. A singing group. We shouldn't call them a band. A band is War and Tower Power and Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's a band. You get singers and musicians, and okay. So yeah, so a band. Coldplay was a band, right? And these guys are a singing group. So they're more like but the little girl was on there, and she was sick from stress and industrialization and stuff, and the music from these cute little kids made her hope that she had something to live for. Okay. And I was thinking about that because I was out there in the barn, shooting while I was listening to the videos that I made. And it's wrong for us to have to live vicariously through others, instead of, focus on Miriam Cologne and Linda Cristal and Barbara Luna and Nichelle Nichols. It should be more, what's your name? Is it Peggy or Sue? What's your name? Right? Like I used to tell my wife, I used to tell Steffi, you're my Janet Jackson. I used to tell Amy, you're my J-Lo, right? And it's wrong for people to have exaggerated self-importance through irrational, aggressive, selfish expression. And it's more right for people to be able to just, when you feel down and out, sing a song. It'll make your day. It'll make a way. Sing it, sing it, sing it, sing it. Sing a song, sing a song. So it's right more for us to be us and not to have this living vicariously through other people that are part of this mundane, egotistical expression and abuse to keep us complacent and compliant. It's wrong to be compliant to abuse. It's wrong to capitulate and accept it. And then when you work real hard at being successful, like I told you, man, my whole life, I constantly underachieved because I hated achieving. Made me feel ick, right? I hated it, And we're hundreds of thousands of years in the making, And I told you about that when I was young, because everybody, all the thespians at school, who I really enjoyed and were really good at it, they wanted me, Earl, you should do this. You should go out. You should do drama. You should be a thespian, right? Well, I drive the director crazy because I'd improv too much because I got too much. And then I can't imagine, sitting, and yet I can't imagine that you want me to. But no, I can't imagine sitting there devoting, so much time and effort into pretending to be something I'm not for somebody else's egotistical expression to influence and be an influencer, right? Astronauts put up them satellites, right? And so I'm like, I just know, it's bad enough that we have brain damage from our video games to occupy our time because it gives us an aspect of control in our life. That's bad enough, right? We'd like greater aspects of control in that, but they don't because they're selfish, they're lazy, they want to sell you the next installment. Suzuki told me that. I was like, why did they do that? He goes, because they want to sell you the next one. So they always leave you wanting more. That's horrible. Yeah. So we can't just be content and satisfied. I had 2 doves today. I'm tired. I don't want to go out prowling tonight. Animals have a little bit more contentment. I think she was out the other night because she finally caught one. Okay. She was getting out and, trying to find a good, and she got 2 today, and now she's inside. And now she'll listen better and kind of, okay, so you can catch birds now. She hasn't not just chasing. We used to make fun of her because she couldn't catch them, and now she can. So we can't make fun of her anymore. I just tell the birds. I told the birds they had to look out, and the birds will get me. What do you got? Betsy ain't caught one of us. There's no Sly, and she has now. I think it's because they were all so wary of Sly that it kept them, and they kind of laughed at Betsy because she wasn't nearly as good at it as he was. But eventually, she will, and then she'll get better. And it's just finding out how it works for you. And they have to. If Betsy didn't do what she's doing now, cats wouldn't be alive. Okay? And that's the way you have to look at it. Okay. If cats didn't chase birds, catch birds, and chase birds, catch birds, and eat birds, they wouldn't be alive today. If dogs didn't do that with the chicken or whatever, stuff. And so they would be dead. Okay. So you don't look at your animals, I like chicken. I like liver. Meow mix, meow, I want chicken. I want liver. Meow mix, please deliver, right? So, Earl, if you rolled over and played dead and all your dogs and wolf packs ate you, we wouldn't have people today to sit there and go, oh, it's Clem, she's so cute. Oh, look at Buggy, she's doing the Buggy, she's so cute. Oh, Ray Ray, she's so Patrick, Clacklet Clip, you wouldn't have Clacklet Clip, you wouldn't have Crinkle Bells, you wouldn't have Want to Hear Do It Daddy, you wouldn't have Malaki Bama, you wouldn't have Kangaroo, you wouldn't have Mooj Bitch, It Out the Way, Bitch, It Out the Way, right? You wouldn't have anything, So, you got to understand, you got to be cognizant of balance, harmony, and understanding. And, but with the focal point, first you got to apply them physics of that there Lord's Prayer. Then you got to understand that there faith, the Psalms, and sustain it with that there, wisdom of that there Proverbs, and stop talking about and having all these stupid videos. I don't know. They're symbiotic to the assholes in the military. It's not so much that, you can't get them to do anything they don't want to do. They do it. It's like, this is perfect. Let's promote this. Boy, this guy's an idiot. 9 signs you need to keep in sign of that this is changing of the times with that. In the Bible, he saith unto God, that the power of Amon-Ra will get us by the power of Grayskulls, Zordon, Rangers, and blah, 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 blah. And then you look for this, and it's very important to apply the physics of the Lord's Prayer. Okay, submit to the faith of Psalms, life's eternal, and grace is infinite, and sustain it with the wisdom of that, humility of that understanding, right? It's not hard. It's quite easy, actually. Okay. Then you won't have to ever watch. Yeah. Have you watched Charlie? I went and watched them, and I still liked them. Okay, the Charlie Chan movies. Because, Charlie's all right. The ones I really like, I like Key Luke. I like Sin Young. I like Mantan Moreland, Yeah, I like Warner Oland and Roland and Sidney Toller and Roland Winters, but I prefer the sidekick guys better. Okay. They have better personalities. Charlie can be a little obnoxious. You go off like Spout with the, and they're just trying to impress their dad because he's the super sleuth, right? The genius, right? And so they're just trying to be smart too, like Edward and stuff. And so they're just chip off the old block, right? And so, but when you watch the movies, I representative for government, and it's total propaganda, okay? And trying to take the propaganda and make it look more appealing, unilaterally, okay, to try to be more universal, to try to appear less bigoted, less prejudiced, more worldly, right? More intelligent, more couth, more hoo-hoo, And that's why I liked them as a child. And Mr. Moto, because the Japanese were the bad guys when I was a kid. And my grandma was German, right? So when I watched Mr. Moto, I'm like, oh, he's one of the good guys. He's one of us. He sits there and smuggles these things out, kills these people through this that are trying to kill him because he's the good guys get it if the good guys do. And that's all Charlie Chan too. We have poison gas, but if we have it, it's in good hands of Fall State. But if the Germans get it, they'll kill us with it. Okay, what are we going to use the poison gas for? To give the daisies a nap? What were we going to use the torpedoes for? So if we get the torpedoes to mass murder the Germans to take over the housing, golf course, and casino market, it's a good thing. But if they do it, it's a bad thing. Right? So if they're Pimp Daddy Nash, that's bad. But if we're Pimp Daddy Nash, that's good, right? And the Lord's Prayer and Psalms and Proverbs are what? Sphinxers say what, right? So, do you understand? Cro-Magnon man, Cro-Magnon woman, Clan of the Cave Bear, Umgawa, Tantor, George of the jungle, friend to you and me. George of the jungle, watch out for that tree. Hi, I'm an ape playing chess. Okay, do you understand? You're funny. I know. I'm going to watch these while I soak in the tub. I'm just tired. I don't want to have to, but yeah, you'll sleep better if you, I'll sleep better. I go soak in the tub, and yeah, it's true. And little things that I have to do that I don't want to have to do. I wouldn't be in this situation. I wouldn't be this uncomfortable. Okay, if people were faithful like me and kind like me and courageous like me and gorgeous like me. And shared the Lord's Prayer is perfect, Platin physics. Psalms, I love you. Proverbs, perfect to sustain that love. Hooray! Right? But it's not happening, right? The pillars of faith are based off of that. Yeah. It's just that the fantasy has been corrupted. And then he said, I will come with the pillars of faith and they will corrupt those too. Okay. Until the 1322nd Redeemers. As it turns out, you're not, I know everybody, I'm not the guy from the book of Revelation. I was not born in the valley of the shadow of death. My mom's name was not Mary. My dad's name's not Raphael. It is. In it's German, it's Ralph. Okay. But in Latin, Raphael. Okay. ¿Tú entiendes? Okay. But, and so, that's, I don't have a nephew whose mother's name is Mary, who said he'd be named after the 2 points of contention of the warring between the two tribes, Isaac, Paul. So, yeah, no. Who's the spirit of Abraham and Muhammad. So, no, it's, there's nothing. Gabe and Mike don't exist. And so it's like there's nothing. There's no evidence at all in our science planners that's conclusive that proves that this is the man who's talking to John in the cave in North Africa telling about the story of my life. And then they sit there and you get all these guys, well, there'll be no stars in the sky. Have you been cruising in Phoenix in the 1980s? Baby, let's cruise away from here. You're out there looking around and John's talking to me. What are you doing? We're doing this. We're cruising. And then, whoa, there's no stars in the sky. Well, this is Phoenix. And then me and Patrick talk about it later when we go to the Boot Hill in Adamus. And we're sitting outside and Dad, I love the stars here. So they're better than the ones in Arizona. I said, no, son, these are the same stars. It's just in the Boot Hill here in New Mexico, you can see all of them. You can see the Milky Way. You can see this. You can see there's the North Star, there's the Little Dipper, there's the Big Dipper, there's all the things you could see that me and my dad used to look at when I was a kid. Only they're better at Animas than they were in just by Mesilla and San Pablo, because you do have less light pollution from El Paso, right? And so you see them even more. It's even more beautiful. And Patrick, well, I like the stars better in New Mexico than the ones in Arizona where we live in Phoenix. And me too, because some nights we'd sit there at 7 stars, especially when the moon was bright. You could count 7 stars in the sky in Phoenix at night. Okay. Can you imagine? Okay. Being John in North Africa, going out and looking, behold, the only thing greater than yourself. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. And then talking to this guy in the future that's supposed to perform the apocalypse and say, what, you're looking at the scar? Yes. And there's no moon. Right. How many scars can you see? 15. Okay. But I live in Phoenix. Let's take a ride and run with the dogs tonight in suburbia. And you got to be thinking, what the hell? Even if you lived in ancient Rome, okay, you'd still be able to see more stars in the sky than you do maybe in El Paso, okay, or Cruces, because of the light and the atmospheric areas and the carbon emission poisoning and stuff. I don't know, because in London, maybe, in ancient London, when a chimney sweep is dying and he's not lucky at all because you can't breathe because everybody's freezing to death and they're burning everything they can just to stay warm, and they've taken Henry's desk and they take his legs and his drawers. Oh, that's in Korea. The dog's not foreign country radar. The dog's Korean. The dog barks in Korean radar. Okay. Remember that episode? That was funny. But Earl, I grew up in hell. Yeah. I grew up in hell just as confused as most of you did. Okay. And they talk about that in the book of Daniel with Herschel Steinschneider. And in David's time, when you had all these big groups and these guys with concubines and they lose their way. And, the first thing after he got rid of Saul trying to kill him was go to the concubine room and whoa, because he's like 18 and all the most gorgeous women that know how to do things sexually to make you go, whoa, it's just gonna task it. Whoa, Stairway to the Stars. Whoa, there's 4 of them. Whoa, there's me. And so he just went right there and he told me, in Sierra Vista right off the bat, it's over. It's not. It's no, Earl. No. Like you said in the service, I could be the greatest lover in the world, and if only one woman knew it, that'd be perfectly all right with me. It's horrible. They all raised the red lantern. Who is going to be his favorite? Who's the kid that is going to be the king? Who will not be king? That bitch's kid shouldn't be king. My kid should be king. Absalom, he's going to make Solomon king. Solomon will be king because you will fight to be king, and then people will fight and kill and die to be king. If you don't fight to be king, you will be king and Solomon won't be king. Self-fulfilling prophecy, my son, is what David told Absalom. And it makes sense. But everybody always listens to someone else than the person, I tell you, a prophet is a prophet except for in his own hometown, in his own home house. Yahweh, right? Yeah, because I was up on they kept playing stuff for Patrick, remind me of Patrick. And I tried to tell him, I said, it was really hard when I got with your mom at first. She spent almost 2 years pining. She hit on me twice. Okay, one right away, and I nipped it in the bud with her in-law. And then when me and Law were having trouble, she did it again. Okay. And I told her that when she came out, I said, you spent 2 years wanting me, and I spent 2 years trying to work it out with your cousin that I was engaged to be married to and making love with and being the only one that I make love with. And have these women that are gorgeous and that more guys would sexually desire than your cousin. Say, hey, come be with me. Come away from here and be my man. And I didn't meet them at a bar room. I met them at work. Right? Okay. And I was trying just to be a good guy. Right? And so it's very hard. And I knew the thing was Kay put them into a bad situation because she sat there and said, we don't share in this family, and if anybody dates somebody, the other people can't date them. Knowing damn well she was living vicariously through Yolanda, and that when Yolanda dated guys, they were either the guys that were really cool, okay, or really shallow. So the shallow guys wouldn't date Steffi or Shelly anyway. Okay. And the really cool guys, they were not allowed to date Shelly or Law. Shelly or Steffi, because it would make Law uncomfortable. No, she's a jerk. She was a jerk. She favored one over the other two, and she was living vicariously through the one that she favored, and she was mean. And it was stupid, and it led to horrible situations. And you shouldn't do that. You should allow people to be who they're. And if that had happened, Steffi could have told me she does this all the time. She cheats on him and screws up, and then but she didn't get to do that. She had to take the high road and then wait for me to become available, and then had to fight like hell to try to date me. And the thing was that that's wrong. It shouldn't happen. But if they hadn't have done that, we probably wouldn't have ended up together because the circumstance would have been different. I probably would have ended up with Sergeant Montalvo. But my life still would have been as miserable as ever, and I still would have gone through the same hell because of the military. Okay. So I did what I did to have, people in the right place to perform the apocalypse to save us all from hell, because I love people eternally. And if people aren't happy with that answer, hell with you. I love you, but you're a selfish asshole.